So I spent part of my weekend with my girlfriend's family, and they decided to play some movies for me that I hadn't seen before. The first one was Battle Los Angeles. Now, I had already known of the bad reputation this movie has, and I will admit this movie is not nearly as bad as I was led to believe. However, this by no means makes it any good. Battle Los Angeles is a cliched science fiction and a cliched war movie, all smashed in one big huge bundle of clichéness. While Aaron Eckhart's performance and the music are fantastic, it cannot override the overarching simplicity of the story and plot. There were one or two things to mix it up a little bit that didn't make the entire experience cliched, but basically the movie's one huge cliche, and even the style of the movie seems to rip off sort of contemporary movies of War of the Worlds and District 9, and fails at both. From the very beginning, the movie doesn't do itself any favors. It starts with a completely unnecessary newsreel as if for a reason why all of our main characters are going into Los Angeles to battle the alien horde. This time actually could have been spent to develop the characters more, as opposed to the just 1 or 2 minutes that we get to spend with each character before they're thrown into the fray. However, there's such a big cast of characters that you don't have enough time to really develop their characters at all, and it already feels long enough as it is. Which points out the whole fact of taking 2 to 3 minutes at the very beginning of the movie for an entirely pointless newsreel because we already know what's going on is just maddening. Not that 2 or 3 minutes more would have saved the movie, especially with the worst camera work in my life I have seen, or at least seen in a very, very long time. I honestly don't know if there was a single still shot in the whole entire movie. It was shaking the whole time. I mean, I've seen some pretty bad shaky cam sort of things going on in cinematography, but boy oh boy, this one takes the cake. And it's never like it was just like, you know, like with action scenes like, say, Bourne Ultimatum, where the camera's just all over every which way, but there's always like a gradual shaking all the time. And of course, it varies. Sometimes it's very, very little, and sometimes it's quite a bit, but it is pretty much always distracting. There were a few times where it finally calmed down, where I'm like, oh wait, is this a still shot? And I was actually paying more attention to seeing, is the camera actually staying still, than I was actually paying attention to the movie. And that is how distracting the camera work is. Not to mention that the build-up of this movie is way too long for aforementioned reasons. And once we finally get into the movie, it takes forever for them to go anywhere and do anything, because we have to pay attention to each and every character, even though most of them die. Spoiler, by the way. Not all of them died, just most of them. I mean, it's not like you should care or watch the movie. So, you know, nothing lost, right? And that's another thing. The deaths lack emotional impact. There's probably only about 1 death in there that I actually really kind of felt something for. But even then, that one was so cliched that it was really hard to get the proper emotional response. It really boggles my mind that this movie was a box office success. Granted, not a huge one, but it made back all its money. The movie so poorly executes almost everything. The movie is also way too long. It takes too long for the build-up. It takes too long for the soldiers to rescue the civilians that they're supposed to rescue before all the bombs drop off on the aliens. And there are so many things that are totally foreseeable. Like when the aliens first show up, they're climbing on the beaches, shooting people, and that's how they first invade Los Angeles. Well, the military, being the bright people that they are, said, well, they don't have an air force, so we're just going to completely obliterate them. We have complete and total air superiority. You know, these are advanced alien beings from another planet that use comets to go down into our atmosphere. And you, for some reason, think that these people are incapable of, you know, having planes or ships. And then, of course, said ships appear and everyone's like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought of this. A 12-year-old could have thought of it. And that's insulting to the 12-year-old. But of course, I watched the entire movie, with a pleasant look on my face. I am with my girlfriend's family after all, and her brothers do like the movie. I'm just glad that they didn't ask my opinion on it. Not that I feel it was a complete waste of time, but it's definitely a movie I will never ever watch again. There are much less cliched science fiction movies, much less boring war movies, and stories with a lot more depth in other even alien invasion movies. The fact that there was even talk for a sequel of this movie kind of bothers me. And whoever that cinematographer was, I know they were probably trying to do their best, whoever was operating the cameras. But those people need a talking to. And to top it all off with cliche and just poor execution, there's a kind of a tacked on, hey, we have to save the world sort of thing, which is not even hinted at for 90% of the movie, but somehow becomes really important in the last 10% of the movie. Why couldn't you have done that beforehand? Of course, it does incorporate the whole, alien ships things. I mean, you would think that the military had even seen enough science fiction movies to know that aliens have spaceships. If you really want to watch a good alien invasion movie, I would recommend The Edge of Tomorrow or The Day the Earth Stood Still. I'm talking about the 1950s version. Graphics may be hokey, but hey, it's a good one. Although, technically, would that be considered an alien invasion? It's not really invading, but there's gore and, So anyways, have you seen Battle Los Angeles? How did you feel? Do you feel the same way I did, or similar, or did you like it? And do I need to give a profuse apology to bashing one of your favorite movies of all time? I really hope that it's not one of your favorite movies of all time. I suppose if I had to give a recommendation to this movie, is that this sort of thing has to really be up your alley to be enjoyable. Otherwise, it's just one of those movies that you'll forget about the very next day, or that you'll want to forget about as soon as you watched it. Just depends. Also, what is your favorite alien invasion movie? Comment, let me know. I always need suggestions for future videos. Whatever you do, be creative, because what we create matters. Also, if I sounded funny today, I am battling a cold, so thank you all for being good sports. Also, if you like this, don't forget to share it on Facebook or whatever social media site you want to use. I can always use more input, make this better, get more ideas, be awesomer. Is that a word? Yeah, that's a word, I think.